Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Martha Simmons with another session of Preaching and Preachers. And I'm praying that the tech gods will let us be great this afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. Good morning. Good morning. It is a sunny day in Atlanta, although we're expecting rain. I think it's been raining here for about 12 days, but we go on because the sun comes out as well. Good afternoon to my folk on the East Coast. Shouting out to folk in the Midwest and shouting out to folk on the West Coast who get up early and catch the live broadcast. And certainly want to say good afternoon to those in the dirty South. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe to this broadcast. And thank you for watching. If you're watching on Facebook Live, tag someone. Tag someone and let them know that the broadcast is live and uh, tag them. If they can't jump on today, they can catch it for the next 2 weeks on Facebook Live and for much longer on YouTube. We've got a topic that all pastors are interested in or have been interested in at some point in their pastoral journey. It's a practical topic. Going to give a ride. Pastor Janetta Hatcher, good to have you with me. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. I've got the man that you want to hear from when it comes to talk about congregational giving. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. All right, that just by way of announcements, join me next week, next Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time, or EDT is more correct. Uh, I will have guests from Pride in the Pews to talk during as we celebrate LGBTQIA month. Next Monday, the folk from Pride in the Pews, I'm excited to have them join me. All right, all right, all right. I see folk are definitely here. And also today, I want you all to ask questions. Ask questions. I know that for most of you, you will want to reach out to this guest after the broadcast, but today, go ahead and ask your questions as well. Uh, as always, let's get started. I am praying for those who are sick, praying for all of those who are experiencing a season of bereavement, and we are praying for those who have suffered loss due to gun violence. That is a never ending problem, and it's a never ending focus for me. We're praying for those families. It's been a rough 2 weeks all over the country, praying for families. All right, let's get to the topic. Let's get to it. Increasing congregational giving. My guest for today is the one, the only Reverend Dr. Carlos Perkins. He is an assistant research scientist and associate director of engagement in the Lilly Family School of Philanthropy at Lake Institute on Faith and Giving. Carlos is an ordained clergy with the Indiana Conference of the AME Church and serves as a senior pastor of Bethel Cathedral AME Church, the oldest Black congregation in the city of Indianapolis. He also serves as the Indianapolis Marion County City Council counselor for District 6. He sits on the city council. He doesn't have enough stuff to do. Prior to joining the Lake Institute on Faith and Giving, he served as principal with the Metropolitan School District of Pike Township in Indiana. So he's clergy, he's an educator, he's involved in politics. And in addition to his work with leading congregation, He's taught classes in sociology, psychology, human development. He's certified. He's a certified youth development specialist, and he holds certificates in diversity training and designing and implementing diversity initiatives. He is the author of "You Are Enough: 21 Days to Sustaining the Seasons of Ministry." He received the Doctor of Ministry from Payne Theological Seminary, the Master of Divinity from Virginia Union University, the Master of Education from the University of Maryland, College Park, Maryland, and the Bachelor of Arts from Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Dr. Simmons. It is great to be here. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
Yeah, well,
You
thank
didn't have
you
to
for
you didn't have to
agreeing
tell
to
the
do
whole
this.
business, but you shared everything. So I am so appreciative
Well,
of
we
the opportunity.
shared just enough to let people really know that you have done the work and you are doing the work. And we appreciate you sharing today. For those of you who are watching, as I said, tag someone. Tag someone. We got people from Brooklyn, New York. One of my friends from Brooklyn, they're mad at me because I said that the Knicks may not beat the Spurs, and they're laughing now at me. Shout out to the people, but it's not over. It's a long way to go to get to seven. Anyway, I'm happy if the Knicks
Yeah.
take it all. I really, really am. If you are watching on,
Dr. Simmons, I had to get my Knicks card back. I got to be honest. I'm a New Yorker. Was raised in New York. Went to undergrad in
really,
New York. I've
mm-hmm,
always been a Knicks fan. Knicks has always been a part of my family's heritage. But since I moved out to the Midwest last year in the Eastern Conference Final, the Knicks played the Pacers,
yep.
and as an elected official, was obligated to cheer for the home team at the time, and I made the mistake. I took a picture at the game
Whoa,
and put it on my social media, and
no.
all my family and Knicks fan disowned me. So I'm trying to get back in good graces this year as
Get
I'm
that
cheering for the
card back.
Knicks.
Get that card back. Get that card back. All right, all right, all right. Let's get to this important subject: increasing congregational giving. Dr. Perkins, I guess just dive into it. Why? Well, this is the way I see it. Why do people care? You know they care, or you believe they care, but they don't give consistently. Well, why do you think that is?
Yes. Well, thank you for starting with that question because as we are traveling the country, and last year in 2025, we had the opportunity to train over 600 Black pastors
Whoa.
in our executive certificate in religious fundraising, which I will refer to a number of times during our conversation today. I'm seeing some
And I
folks who are
want
jumping on.
pastors to take note. You
Yes,
can get this training. Go ahead, Dr. Walter
absolutely,
Perkins.
absolutely. There are a couple of folks I saw. Pastor Donna from New Jersey just jumped on. She was in one of our cohorts earlier on this year.
Mhm.
But we come to this work, Dr. Simmons, from the perspective working within the Lake Institute. The Lake Institute really sits at this intersection between faith and giving, between faith and generosity. We see our role at the Lake Institute as in part to do the research around why people give, what are they given to, what are the trends in giving, what are the things that folks are supported, and we take that research and translate it for practitioners, for the
Okay.
folks that are on the ground that are doing the work. So
Okay.
what I'm sharing today is grounded in research. So we do the research, we do the interpretation, we do the training through our educational program. As I refer to our executive certificate in religious fundraising, our Cultivating Generous Congregation seminar, which is really geared towards congregational teams as you're building stewardship campaigns. And then ultimately, we anchor all of that in what we call public conversations.
Okay.
How do we convene folks that are doing the work in communities, leading anchor institutions, and more specifically, as we're talking to Black and brown pastors today, you are leading an anchor institution. Just be clear that before organized philanthropy would come across to support your work, your congregants were supporting the work of transformation in community. We're just at a time right now where the work that God is calling us to do requires more than just what our congregation is affording to give or
Hey, listen to that now. The work we're doing now requires more than what your congregation can do. Oh, okay.
I usually start this conversation with, if the vision that God has given to you in your context, in your congregation, can be funded by the people that are sitting in your pews, then the vision is not big enough.
Oh my goodness.
That's my conversation with pastors. That's how I start this conversation around generosity.
Okay.
So let's jump into the word. Why are folks there but they're not giving? Why are folks offering vision and inviting folks and folks are not giving? We anchor our work in a book written by Henry Nouwen called The Spirituality of Fundraising.
Okay.
Let me encourage pastors, if you're online, go in and get this book. It's a simple read. It's literally about 60 pages. I'm going to look at it right there. If you can see it, Spirituality of Fundraising, Henry Nouwen. And in that book, as a thesis for that book, Nouwen says, in fundraising as ministry, we are inviting people into a new way of relating to their resources. We're inviting folks into a new way. Religious fundraising, and we can talk about our theology behind fundraising, right? But I'm going to push us to think not the fundraising that you're used to, not the fish dinners, not the cookouts, not. I learned as I'm traveling in the South, in North and South Carolina, they have rainbow teas. Being from the North, that means something else. But in the South, that means something. Those are the fundraisers that typically that we talk about and we hear about in our context, especially in the Black church context. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about inviting individuals to a different relationship with their resources. A matter of fact, Nouwen says that we believe that if the gifts, the money is only good for us who receive it, that it's not fundraising in the spiritual sense.
Oh my goodness.
Religious fundraising is not about money.
All right now.
It's not about money. It's about declaring a vision.
That's right.
Hear this. That is exciting and inviting others to partner with God with what God is doing in your context. So now let's get to the question. Well, why are folks not giving? The first thing I say to pastors is interrogate your vision and mission. Have you taken the time to discern what God is calling you to do in 2026 in your context?
Yeah.
And be clear, God is not calling you to do everything.
That's right. That's right.
We use a concept from the business world called the hedgehog concept. And the hedgehog concept encourages pastors and leaders to just have this tunnel vision about what God is calling you to do.
Right.
The hedgehog concept asks a couple of questions, right? What are the things that your congregation is really good at doing?
Right.
What are your priorities? Because there are things that you might be very good at doing in your congregation, in your context, but it's not your priority. Okay. And then the third question is what you're good at doing, what are your priorities, and then what are folks interested in funding?
All right now. Please say what are they interested in? Yeah.
Because you might be really good at doing something and it might be a priority, but folks are not interested in funding it.
Yeah.
And when I talk about funding, I'm talking about both individuals that are in your context, that are in your congregation, but also folks that are part of we call our constituency model. That God has strategically positioned folks that are not members of your church to fund the vision that God has given to you.
All right.
You just have not explored those individuals. So to get to the question, why are folks not giving? The lack of vision, clarity in regards to what you're asking people, or you're inviting people to partner with God in doing in your context. And then I will just anchor on Dr. Simmons, our sometimes plain refusal to deal with our congregational life traumas.
All right now. Say it. Talk about it. Talk about that.
What are the things
Yep.
within your congregational context
Yep.
that are preventing folks to give to your organization? That
Mm.
might look like lack of accountability.
Whoa.
That might look like traumas that have happened over time.
Mm-hmm.
That might look like the lack of understanding of donor motivation. I talk to so many pastors that are saying, well, that's all well and good, but I operate in a facility. My church needs to be renovated. My parking lot needs to be repaved. And then I ask why? Why would folks give to renovate your building? Well, we
Right.
can't worship. Well, why? Well, why? And once we get to the place where interrogate, well, what's the purpose and use of the building? How are you transforming community by a repaved parking lot? Or by
Why
just
and who
repaving?
cares? Who
And who
cares?
cares?
Who
Right?
cares? I mean, so your parking lot got repaid. Who cares?
Absolutely.
Whose life did that change? What did that do for the community? Okay, not just you wanted the parking lot repaid so that your parking lot doesn't look bad. Go ahead, Doctor.
Absolutely. And so then how do you build a vision that is transformative? That is not only doing, because, and again, I'm jumping around here, Dr. Simmons, because I'm trying to
Go ahead.
unload
Go
so
ahead.
much,
Go ahead.
right? Dr. Blunt is on, one of my
You
partners in
talking
this
good. You
ministry,
talking.
in this
Yeah, I
work,
saw
right?
Dr. Brown join us.
Oftentimes, congregational leaders lean on one side of what their congregation is called to do.
Okay.
They do the moral, ethical work.
Okay.
Right? They do the work of making disciples, the Great Commission work.
Right. That's right.
But when we signed up our organization, we promised the federal government that we're also going to do community transformation work.
Didn't we? We said we were 501c3s.
There you go. As a part of your 501c3 status, you're not only this moral organization, but you're this community transforming organization. So how do you marry those two and invite folks to give into that context? And so understanding your congregational clear vision and mission, understanding your congregational call, understanding your congregational life traumas. And finally, I will say a deeper understanding of donor motivation. Okay. What are folks motivated to give to? I read an article this morning in preparation for my staff meeting at 2:00, and it talks about congregational giving and motivation. I want to get to that. The article title is Why Americans Give. New research finds 5 distinct profiles for generosity. Right? Folks are motivated to give because they see the organization as transformational. Folks are motivated to give because they are given from an issues perspective. There's something that your congregation is doing that resonates with them. Right. And as we think and talk about younger givers, research shows us that younger givers are more attached to issues-based giving.
Right. That's right. When
So
we were younger, we too were attached to different issues. That's correct.
Absolutely.
That's right. And we forget that as we get older. Okay.
And not only do we forget that, we oftentimes assume that younger parishioners, younger congregations don't have resources. And that's not true. Right? They are 24, 25, 30-year-olds, 35-year-olds that are managing $1 million budgets.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
But they won't give to your parking lot. They won't give to your building project. But an invitation to an issue that resonates with them might actually motivate and cultivate them into a generous giver. So understanding donor motivation. I'll pause right there. I see a number of conversations going on in the chat.
I see the conversations. Like I said, you all can ask, you can put your questions in the chat as well. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. If you are on Facebook, tag somebody. They can jump on now. or this will be up on my page for a couple of weeks. Okay. This is the stuff. 2026, I hear from pastors, and when I posted the teasers about this, people were crying all over the place. And most of them focused on the trauma that happens within churches as a reason that people don't give. People aren't accountable. Money went missing, da 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 da. When actually, that's not the main reason. It's one of them, but it's
Yes.
not the main reason that people aren't giving. Okay, so we understand better now, that people care, but they're not giving consistently for a variety of reasons. So, and you've already kind of mentioned this. What is it actually that's shaping generosity in 2026 in churches? Because from some of the data that I've seen, what shaped generosity in churches in 2000 is not what's shaping it now. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So, understanding generosity within the uh, religious context or church context is first understanding how we define generosity. Right. So, first of
Okay.
all, it's a definition around generosity. We use as a framework for us at Lake Institute in our educational program a definition taken from Christine Smith and Hilary Davison from the Generosity Project, published through Notre Dame. Right. It is not a theological definition. Matter of fact, it's taken from the sociological context. Right. And I
Mm-hmm.
want us to hear this. The generosity is the virtue of giving good things to others freely and abundantly. It's a
Okay.
virtue given. It is a learned character trait,
Yeah, it
right?
is. It is.
Then if we assume that it's a learned character trait, then somebody is responsible for teaching it.
Okay.
It's a learned character trait that involves both an attitude and an action, right? Both for the inclination and actual practice of giving liberally. Generosity must be taught, right?
Say
So
that
we
again. I mean, I have so many pastors tell me they hate talking about money. They hate talking about generosity. They don't teach any of this. Okay,
So
but
I'm going to
somebody
get to
has
that.
to teach
I'm
it.
going to get to that, Dr. Simmons, because
Okay.
one of the things that we have discovered in our educational programs, and we have actually made an adjustment and revised our curriculum for 2026,
Mm-hmm.
is we discovered between 2024 and 2025, as I'm training Black and Brown pastors across the country, that pastors experience their own trauma with money.
All right now. Whoa, whoa,
Majority of pastors
whoa.
have said to us in our training sessions, I'm not comfortable even asking folks for money.
Yep, that's what they said.
Right.
That's when I put the teasers out. That's
So
what they said too.
I'm going to get to the part of the whole, and we've adopted a whole section. There's a whole body of work on the trauma of money that we have included, and I'm encouraging pastors to explore this, right? Whether through our educational programs or the Trauma of Money Institute. But our definition of generosity says that generosity is not a haphazard behavior,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but it's a basic orientation to life.
Yes.
If it's not
Yes.
haphazard, then it has to be intentional.
Yeah.
And so if it's a virtue, if it requires intentionality, then I say, pastors, leaders, what are you doing in your context to cultivate generosity in your congregation?
Mm.
And we usually use the example because we say, like all virtues, generosity is in people's genuine, enlightened self interest to learn and practice.
Yeah.
So then we ask the question, what are some of the other virtues? In other words, what are some of the other fruits of the Spirit that we teach?
That's right. That's right.
Right? How often do we talk about love?
Yeah.
Right? Joy,
Yeah.
right? That's embedded in our sermons and in our Bible studies, in our conversations. But if we look at generosity as a virtue that must be cultivated, then pastors, leaders other than when you're asking folks for money, when you're trying to raise the budget. And in my context, as a good Black Methodist, when we're trying to raise and pay the assessment, when do you preach and teach about generosity?
My goodness.
Right? It has to become a part of the year-round cycle of what we do. Right? Some of us are series preacher. I am one of those. Right? Some of us use other ways in which we build our preaching and teaching schedule for the year. Generosity must be embedded in that.
And generosity is more than, can I get you to give $500 to this project? Generosity is a virtue.
Absolutely.
And so if we
must
think about it as a virtue,
yes,
okay, that lands different than you are not giving money and you are violating Malachi.
That's right. That's right. And again, we use the text in Malachi that says, will a person rob God? And my answer is always yes, right? They will, all right? But then our responsibility, we have these two paradigms that we teach from. One is a traditional paradigm, and the second is called an emergent paradigm, right? And what we share with pastors, just as we share the definition of generosity, we share the work of Henry Nouwen. We say to pastors and leaders that there exists in your context individuals that are given from both a traditional paradigm, but also emergent paradigm.
Okay.
Right? And we talk a little bit about the paradigms, what they look like. The traditional paradigm looks at giving from this perspective as a moral obligation. That I have a theology of duty. And my theology of duty is embedded in the Malachi text. My moral obligation, and we have those in our congregation because I surely do. And I love them. They'll say, Pastor, I'm a part of this church. I've been a member of this church for 50 years. And as a member of this church, I have an obligation to give.
Yeah.
And they give.
Yeah.
There are others that operate from this theology of duty that says, hey, I understand the call in Malachi. But we also wrestle with folks that, well, we talk about the tithe and offering in the Old Testament. We don't talk about tithes and offering in the New Testament. And for that, I said, well, in Malachi, they talk about 10%. In the New Testament, they said that they brought everything. So you go ahead and pick which one you want. If we're going to wrestle through this theology conversation.
Yeah.
But this traditional paradigm also has an assumption, Dr. Simmons, that institutions are to be trusted.
Yeah.
And we know that right now, that institutions are not trusted in the same way that historically they have. A matter of fact,
that was when I said, how have things changed? That's the big thing that I've watched over my lifetime regarding churches, regarding politics, regarding in schools, etc. Institutions are no longer trusted the way they were once trusted.
And faith-based organizations, congregation churches, are less trusted than nonprofit organizations. That's what research
says. Now.
So some of the same work that you're doing as a congregation, right, that might be done in a nonprofit organization, donors are saying to us, we trust a nonprofit organization than we trust faith-based organizations or congregations, right? And we can point to a number of things that have happened over the decades that have led to institutional trust being at the point where it is right now. So this moral obligation, this theology of duty, this institution must be trusted. But this traditional paradigm operates where the gift is the point. The money is the point. I'm trying to get your money because we have needs, we have bills to pay, and that's what I'm trying to get to.
Got to change that paradigm.
And it also operates that budgets are needs driven, right? Yep. Now we are seeing this emergent paradigm. Now, I'm not pastors, leaders, those that are watching us, we're not saying it's one or another. We're saying understand the type of individuals that are in not only your congregation, but also your constituents. I'm going to talk a little bit about the constituents, right? That is broader than just your church, right? There's this emergent paradigm that says instead of this moral obligation, donors must be cultivated.
Yeah, sure.
Instead of this theology of duty, there's a theology of response. What is a theology of response? That you are so intentional, pastors, faith leaders, about teaching and preaching about generosity and teaching the text, the Bible, you know, that book, in a way that liberates and not try to alienate folks, but teach the text in a way that people respond to the goodness of God. We undergird this work with the work of Walter Brueggemann. Brueggemann says that money and possessions, that it belongs to God anyway, and
Right.
God trusts us as stewards to keep what belongs to God. And when God has a use for what belongs to God, we ought to be willing to give back to God what belongs to God.
And I'm hearing from young people, and you can see this on TikTok, Instagram, and for older people, on even the young folk who are on Facebook, which is an old folks platform, that people are saying not only is there a sense of response that they're okay with, that they get that vibe, but they also need to see more respect.
Absolutely.
Respect for their time, respect for their money, respect for their issues, etc. So you have a respect and a response that is expected.
Absolutely. And that forces us to think about generosity beyond just money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That generosity is time, talent,
Yeah,
treasure.
yeah.
Right? And in the philanthropic field, we say testimony and
Okay,
network, right?
that's right. That's right.
That not only do we want you to give up your time, your talent, and your treasure, we want you to share your testimony, but we also want you to share your network, right? We are friend raising, right? Because we believe that if you're motivated by something, you're encouraged by something, you're willing to give to something, that your network, because of who you are within that network, would also want to support some of this work. So with this emerging paradigm, institutions, instead of this institutions must be trusted, institutional trust must be earned.
That's cool. There you go. That's the respect piece. That's respect.
And some of my older
me.
saints, some of my more seasoned saints wrestle with this. But it's the church.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the church. But if you look back at your church history, there's been institutional life trauma that has eroded the trust of your congregants and your community.
Yeah. Yeah. And the pastors, like you said, they're pastors who have trauma themselves. They experience something in a church, or they experience something in their life. And money is just it's a difficult subject for them to deal with.
So I'll share with you just transparently, the congregation that I pastor here in Indianapolis. I promised them that we'll practice what I travel the country and teach, right? And so this year we are celebrating our 190th church anniversary. And I challenge
190?
190, yes.
Jesus, okay.
And we're still holding. And so,
yeah.
But get this, after 190 years, the church does not have an endowment.
Whoa.
Pastors,
yeah.
leaders.
Yeah.
We lead some of the oldest institutions in our communities. And we have not. Now, a part of it is systematic, right? Yeah. Systems has prevented us. Like some of us have operated from limited resources. Most of us have operated from limited resources. So I've encouraged our congregation for our 190th year to establish a small endowment, right? We started up, our endowment goal for 2026 is $75,000.
Okay.
I didn't just launch that idea on January 1st. I had to back up and do the institutional context analysis,
right,
to interrogate, to research the institutional trauma around money and endowment.
Right.
Discovered, Dr. Simmons, that about 25 years ago, a former pastor raised this idea for the congregation. And they started an endowment, but instead of investing it in a foundation, they invested it in a bank as a glorified savings account. And what happened? When things got tough,
they used it.
That's
right.
Now, I'm not blaming anybody. We
Right.
know the realities of these streets, right? We know the reality of leading congregations and communities that sometimes are financially and resource strapped.
Things happen.
But what it did, it caused a institutional life trauma.
Right.
So when I initially raised the idea of an endowment, it triggered for some of my members that were here 25 years ago. We started that and it never actualized.
Right.
So I had to go through the healing process with the congregation and explain to the congregation through training, through teaching and preaching around how this would be different.
Right.
Right? And so this is not a glorified checking account. We're investing the money in the local community foundation. Now, the only way to liquidate this particular endowment is if the church closes.
Whoa, good gracious.
So I had to go through for a year
Yep.
teaching. Some of it was very direct, some of it was indirect, some of it was through preachment, some of it was through Bible study, some of it was through, in my Black Methodist context, our church conference.
Right.
Let's talk about what an endowment is. Let's talk about the different types of endowment. Let's talk about the different investments. What are the benefits of the endowment? How does this help us to live into the future?
And you were doing all of this, now, given the AME's problems with money over the last couple of years. Woo-wee.
So not only do I have to deal with, and I'm going to be a little transparent on this platform. I see some of my brothers and sisters from the AME context here from Black Methodism. Y'all know our plight. It's been public. I have to do it. I had to do it not only dealing with my own institutional trauma, but I had to do it dealing with my franchise trauma.
Okay, now.
Right? So I'm not only dealing with my local church here in Indianapolis, I'm a part of a larger denomination.
That's right.
And what impacts the larger denomination impacts my local congregation. And so one of the questions that we ask pastors during our training, our educational programs is, what institutional challenges must be addressed for your local congregation to become truly generous?
Okay.
And folks sometimes are unwilling to address those things.
Yeah.
And your unwillingness to address those things prolongs your congregation's inability to become truly generous. But you raised another point. Not only are we dealing with the institution, but we're also dealing with the individuals. The book that I'm referring to, Chapman is the author, and her first name is slipping me right now. It's called The Trauma of Money. You can get a copy. It's on Amazon. The Trauma of Money. It asks individuals about their own money trauma.
Yeah.
Right? And your own money trauma built around, the book is called The Trauma of Money by Chantel, Chantel Chapman. And Chapman says that money trauma is an emotional wounding that happens as a result of something to do with money. An emotional wounding that happened as a result of something to do with money. It layers of trauma. It could be individual, it could be generational, it could be systemic, but it helps shape our beliefs about money. And money trauma then causes these scripts that kind of live beneath our behavior. Script like, I'm bad with money, or I don't deserve abundance, or script like, money,
or Black people are not good with money.
There you go.
Or women are not good with money. We don't do math well, or all other ethnic groups are always going to be wealthier than Black folk are. All of those scripts, okay, are within our churches, and that's has to become a part of our teaching and our preaching. I think sometimes we forget that people live in the real world, and it's like, you got to teach your Bible, you got to teach moral values and virtues, but you've also got to live in the real world. The young people right now especially those that are basically 23 to about 30, are seeing a period where they can't pay student loans, they can't get jobs, they can't trust institutions. The parents are saying, we want to help you, but it's rough on us too. So they're in a quagmire. They're in a really rough period. And all of this is shaping their understanding about money. And 15 years from now, they may still be traumatized by it, depending upon what this economy does over the next 5 years. Am I right about it?
You are absolutely correct. A matter of fact, Dr. Simmons, one of my adjunct is actually on Pastor Jordan Bartlett, and Pastor Jordan oftentimes share that in order for us to teach our congregations around to become generous, in order for us to cultivate that, it might very well for some of us start with some financial management training,
Yes,
some
yes,
budgeting, right?
yes.
I think about the work of Dr. Soares out of New Jersey
Hmm.
that talks about, like, if you look around your congregation, sometimes folks are not given just because they're not budgeting correctly.
That's right.
And so, pastors and leaders, I'm encouraging you, right, as you think about not only your church community, but the community, or your constituency outside of the four walls of your church, that sometimes cultivating generosity starts with some intentional teaching around budget management,
Yeah, and
right?
helping people to understand as well that they actually are better with money typically than they believe.
Absolutely,
It's just never
absolutely.
been explored, and Dr. Soares will be one of my guests later in the year. But it never ceases to amaze me that people make assumptions because of their trauma
Yes,
about how bad they are with money,
yes,
and they've never stopped to ask themselves, well, can I learn?
yes,
Can I
yes,
get better? Can a
yes,
financial
yes.
counselor actually help me? When I used to do and still do when marrying couples, I'd make sure they went through their financial trauma. Okay. If both of you all really don't really believe you're just going to be broke all the time, etc. Okay. You've got to address that early on. Let me get to another significant question that people just want to know, um, what needs to change in our churches for giving to become steady. And you've alluded to part of this, but give me some specific things. I've seen some things in the literature. Let me find out if anything has changed for giving to become steady, because that's how you figure out your budget. You
Yes.
know, you look at, do these number of people, had they given this much over this many months, over this many years? And then you set your budget and your budget increases. So, how do you get your giving to be steady?
So there are four things that I will highlight here as we think and talk about this definition of generosity, this understanding of your local congregation, the institution, the understanding of donors, right? So we talk about nurturing generous congregations, right? So
Mhm.
what's the work that needs to go into doing that? We talk
Yeah.
about understanding donors and nurturing generous donors and understanding donor behavior.
Hmm.
I'm going to share in a few minutes this four types of donors that we oftentimes talk about. The third thing, Dr. Simmons, is the practice of religious fundraising.
Hmm.
How do you incorporate that into what and who you are? What we do know that many of us are leading congregations as pastors, um, leading organizations, and we have not gotten the training to do so,
Oh my
right?
goodness. Oh,
Especially around this work of fundraising,
yeah.
philanthropy, business. I think about my own seminary experience,
Yeah.
and I love my experience at Virginia Union University,
Hmm.
the Samuel Dirk Proctor School of Theology. I loved it. I enjoyed every bit of it. But I remember taking one class on church administration.
Yeah.
But now I'm leading a congregation, and not only do I need to, I thank God for my training as a principal. Because as a principal, I learned not only how to manage people and write and monitor curriculum, but I knew how to fix the toilet, right? I knew how to work with the folks and the contractors that we have. All right. And as a pastor, you are running a business.
Yeah.
Right. And so what is the practice of religious fundraising? How do you incorporate that in who and what God has called you to do?
And for
And
God's
then,
sake, learn how to read a budget. Even if they didn't teach it to you in seminary, learn how to read a budget. But go ahead,
and
Pastor.
it's okay to read a book that is beyond the Bible and yeah, it's okay to pick up one of the books. So I'm going to offer another book. Imagine in Abundance is another book that we use as a part of our course. It's a book written
Somebody put that in the chat. Imagining Abundance.
Abundance by Carrie Robinson is another book that we use as a part of our course, and I'll refer to it in a few minutes. But the practice of religious fundraising, and then how do you integrate this into your leadership, right? So the practice of it, integrating it, understanding donors, and understanding and nurturing generous congregation are the four things that I say to pastors and leaders if you are to get your church to some consistency. All of this is embodied in this idea that we believe that money follows mission.
That's it. That's the big thing. That's the big
Money
thing.
does not create mission.
Thank you.
Money follows mission.
And so many churches are just surviving from week to week. They've got 30 members, they've got 50 members, and they're living in a survival mode, and no one is taking the time, etc., or sees the significance of exploring mission. And
Absolutely.
they're confused as to why their money is down.
Yeah. And so embedded in that is that fundraising, religious fundraising, is not about money, it's about relationship.
Oh.
And the money that is given is because it's given as a result of a mission.
That's right. That's why they stopped saying in philanthropy years ago, you're not fundraising, you're friend raising.
You're friend raising. Fundraising. So again, pastors, the people that you are appealing to every Sunday, what is your relationship with them?
Okay, now.
Do you show up, preach your 30-minute sermon that you spend 28 minutes to prepare?
No, you didn't say that.
I'm sorry. And hop in your car and then go do something else. What is your relationship with the people that you're cultivating? But not only those that are in your congregation, but what's your relationship with those in your community? We share with pastors in our course, right?
Yeah.
Every Sunday, I know for us, Sunday afternoon, for others, it might be Monday morning, whether you collect $1,000 or $50,000, you drop it off at a local bank. That local bank, by federal law, is obligated to invest in community.
Yeah.
Do you know the manager of the local bank in which you use?
Yeah.
Do you know the individuals that operate your local community foundation? Because many of our community foundation, they manage what we call DAFs, donor advised funds, and they have affluent individuals that are looking to make transformative gifts in community.
Right.
And because of your lack of relationship, they don't even know that you exist doing the transformative work.
Right.
So how do you step outside the walls of your church to build the relationship? So money follows
and show people that you're on a mission.
Absolutely.
That you're actually doing the work. I think sometimes churches think if they tell the people inside the church and a handful of people online, because we don't really use social media well, handful of people online, that they're showing their mission. And in 2026 and beyond, that's just absolutely not true.
So I share with pastors, Dr. Simmons. I ask them, when you invite folks to give during the given moment,
Mm,
what does it sound like?
okay.
What are you inviting them to give to? And I give them an example.
Yeah.
I give them an example from my own local context.
Hmm.
When I do the invitation at our local church, I am inviting folks through our mission, and I am tagging the mission to a home base and what we're doing. So it might
Hmm.
sound like this. At Bethel Church, we are serving, teaching, and reaching souls for Jesus Christ. That's our mission statement. We are stars, serving, teaching, and reaching souls. That's what we do. And I utilize the invitation moment to highlight either how we are serving, how we are teaching, or how we are reaching.
Right.
So I will say something like this. Not every Sunday I highlight all three. I might pick one on a particular Sunday and say, hey, we are serving through our international outreach program in Haiti. Through your generosity, we've been able to support 28 children over the last 5 years since we've been here. Last year, we gave X amount of money. And
Right.
those are real numbers because I reported them on my annual report and I reported them every quarter when the elder shows up, right? Um, it gives the congregants an opportunity to connect their generosity with the transformative work.
And what was I remember you saying something, and maybe this was just us talking privately. What program are you doing this summer where you've got 50, 60 kids you're serving? What program
Absolutely.
is that?
And I've shared that with our congregation through your generosity and our partnership. Now, it's interesting for us. We have a summer learning lab this summer that will cost about $120,000.
Whoa. Hmm.
5 weeks, 8 hours a day, free of cost for families. And we have 60 first through fourth graders that will be with us,
Whoa.
funded through the generosity of others,
Yes, yes. Yeah.
right? I had to make the argument
Hmm.
while Bethel Cathedral is a space that we can offer that opportunity. So not only am I inviting others, and again, we are partnering with a community partner who is providing the funding, but I've also invited the congregation to not only give, right, through purchasing of materials for the summer program, but also give through volunteering.
Sure,
So much
sure.
so, and this is what a clear mission does. It
Hmm.
excites the folks. So they slipped me a note last week Sunday and said, Pastor, we needed to announce that we are taking no more volunteers because we have no funds.
Whoa.
I said,
Whoa.
I mean, even when I was announcing that to the congregation, Dr. Simmons, I said, really? Like, but this is what a clear mission does.
Right,
It,
because people see kids suffering and they
absolutely.
figure if we can help early, you know, at 1 through 4th grade, that's significant. And so people want to lean into a mission of significance. So that's outstanding, Dr. Perkins. Let me get to two questions before we get off here, because people, there was so much said about this, and I put the teasers up. How do you, and maybe you just circle back to some of the other things you said, but I want to make sure I ask the question: how do pastors address having churches that are filled with people in poverty and young folk who have low paying or no jobs? So if you got a bunch of college students and you've just got people in poverty, because I don't believe that people can save their way, because people always say spend less, don't buy this. People in poverty are spending what they have. They're buying what they need. I'm talking poverty. I'm not talking about cutting out your Starbucks coffee.
Yeah, yeah.
Speak to me about these because there are churches that are serving people who are serious. They're in poverty, and the young folk with these jobs, and it's looking like for as long as we have a certain person in the White House, that this is going to keep getting bad.
So I will share, Dr. Simmons, a couple of things. One, we go back to the definition that generosity is not only about money.
There we
All
go.
right. So if we redefine what we're inviting folks to give, and
That's right.
how we're inviting folks to give, that it's not only about what they can give financially, but it's
Yep.
also thinking about possessions, time, attention, aid, encouragement, and so much more. So our definition of generosity has to be redefined. Secondly, I was teaching a cohort. I think we were in Austin, of Latin Hispanic pastors from around the country. And one of the pastors leads a congregation in the DC metropolitan area. And she shared that. She said, look, I am leading a congregation that is mostly immigrant, that they're new to this country. They have greater needs than they have resources. How do I cultivate generosity with them?
Mm-hmm.
She asked that question on day one. By the time we got to day 3 of the course, she said, these are the ways in which we have seen folks demonstrate their generosity.
Mm-hmm.
So we needed to do, they couldn't give financially because financially they were strapped, but they had gifts and talents. So we needed to do restoration on the church. And all we had to do was to find the money to buy the materials, and the work was done by the congregants, right? We have volunteers that are willing to give up their time to help to build ministry. So first, it starts with a definition, really regrouping, reimagining what our definition is of generosity. 2, that we're tapping into individuals beyond their money. And then 3, that you are not limited by the folks that are inside of the walls of your church.
There you go. Get to that. Go ahead. Get to that. Because I certainly, definitely believe, and I don't think pastors get this enough.
So I share a quick example, Dr. Simmons. It was during the pandemic that we were home, and my wife and I and our 2 kids and the dog were locked in. It got too much for me, so my daughter and I decided to go outside and start a garden. My wife and son and the dog stayed in most of the time. About the year into the pandemic, I was home and I said, "Hun, we have a family. We have a family unit. My wife is a mental health practitioner." I said, "If I feel the way that I feel going through this pandemic around my own mental health, imagine those that don't have a family structure like we do and don't have the resources and access." And so, birth right there in the midst of the pandemic for us was our mental health ministry. Now it helps. So my wife is a mental health practitioner, so she's able to push it along. And we said, okay, are we passionate about this? Or can we be good at it? Do we have expertise within our company?
Right.
The answer was yes. Is this a priority for us? Absolutely. Given what we were experiencing during the pandemic. And then we said, answer the third question, which I started with. Who's funding this?
Who's funding it?
And we found a local organization that gave our congregation $40,000 to start a mental health ministry.
Yeah.
Right? Because we went through the process of identifying it as a need, something that we can be good at because we have the expertise in-house. It's a priority for us. And we went and sought outside funding to jumpstart that ministry. From that, the congregation came along and supported. Right. So we were not only able to offer it to the congregation, but also offer it to community. And so we have to start thinking beyond the walls of our churches.
And that's the only way. And a lot of churches need to know this. I've said this earlier in the year. In 2025, more than 10,000 churches closed.
Absolutely.
They closed. And from all of the data, it looks like, and the World Council of Churches said it was more like 15, 20,000 closed. But I'm going with the data I can put my hands on. But it looks like the same number, at least 10,000, are going to close in 2026.
So on that note, and I'm very sensitive of time, I was a part of a gathering.
No, you good. You good. If you got the time, go ahead.
I was a part of a gathering last week where a major funder a major funder funding religious education, a leader to the imagination,
Yeah.
convened a group of 30 organizations in a new initiative around new church start.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard about it.
Right. In the role that I played in that convening was to talk about financial models for new church starts.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The thing that we drove home with the hour and a half that was afforded to me and my co-facilitator was your new church start has to look different than how we started churches 20, 50, 100 years ago.
My God.
One of the panelists that we had as a part of our discussion talks about when they go into a community to start a new church, that they first discern the community for a need and address and establish a nonprofit to address that need before they actually start a congregation.
Okay. Okay.
So, matter of fact, as African Methodists, as a
Mm.
member of the AME Church, we go back to the Free African Society. Before we were the AME Church,
Right.
we were the Free African Society.
That's right.
That started out of a need addressing a community issue, and from that emerged a congregation, then emerged a denomination. As we're looking at churches that are closing across the country,
Yeah.
and we're thinking about planting new churches, the model of funding those churches must be different. But it cannot
totally different. It must be totally different. And the way you start, and I say this all the time because pastors will call me and say, Doc, guess what? I'm starting a church. The way you start, okay, will really help determine how you're going to land and how you're going to end up, or at least where you will be in 5 years.
Absolutely. And so we have to think about different models. But that's not only for church starts, but those of us that are leading established churches, historic churches, that we have to look at church funding models differently.
Please.
Right? We cannot just rely upon our traditional paradigm givers, folks that are giving out a moral obligation, or this theology of duty, or that institutions must be trusted, or that the money is the point, right? And that budgets are financially driven, right? That we must adopt this emergent paradigm that folks need to be cultivated, that there is a response to generosity through our teaching and preaching, that there's some intentionality, not just a week or a month or a season, but all year long, that we're teaching and talking about generosity, that we're cultivating.
It has to be embedded within the fiber, the DNA of your church.
Yes.
Generosity. If it's not within the DNA of your church, you're going to get less money. Okay. You're going to give less money, because we also have churches, of course, that give money to communities and schools and kids. But generosity, if you will embed it within the fiber, so that all of your leaders know this is a church of generosity. Your young people know it. Your sister churches in the neighborhood know. I can call Dr. Perkins to get some information on being a church of generosity. I want to thank you. I mean, you gave us an extra few minutes, and I really appreciate it. And if people want to reach you, Dr. Perkins, how can they do that? Now I'll have someone put it in the chart.
Absolutely. Put it in the chat. My email address. First of all, check out Lake Institute, lakeinstitute.org.
LAKE Institute.org.
My email address is my last name without the S is Perkin, PERKINC @iu.edu. So PERKIN, my first name C @IU Indiana University.edu. I would also love to share, Dr. Simmons, that there are a number of resources available through our Lake Institute website. We have a resource library there that we have catalog stories of innovation and creativity for congregations across the United States, both in English and in Spanish. And so we
All
want to
right. So
encourage you to
you
do
can
that.
go online and start getting help today. The Lake
Absolutely.
Institute, they have built this library of resources. Okay. You don't have to go searching. I couldn't find a book. Nobody would help me. The Lake Institute has built
Absolutely.
it.
And
Please
let me
use
also offer one other opportunity.
it. Mm-hmm.
I have been working with one of my adjunct, Pastor Anthony Riley, out of St. Louis, and we are together offering free of cost an executive certificate course cohort in Houston the first week in August.
My goodness. My
Um,
goodness.
if
It's an
you can, if
executive.
you
Say
can
that
get
again.
there, if you can get there and
Mm-hmm.
hang out with us, we're going to be at the Luke Church
Okay.
in Houston, Texas. And I'm going to give you the date right now. It is um, August 4th, 5th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. The first week in August, August 5th, 6th, and 7th.
At the
Dr.
Luke
Anthony,
Church where Chad Brawley is, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, Anthony Riley is pastoring in St. Louis. Is
No, no, no.
pastor
I was talking about some members of. I
okay,
know the Luke Church. Yeah,
the Luke
yeah. I
Church.
know Anthony Riley is out of St. Louis.
We are
Okay,
going to be at the
so
Luke Church.
mm-hmm,
The cohort is our typical cohort is about 36 pastors,
mm-hmm,
or 36 members, and so it is limited. If you are interested and you know you can make it to Houston, you can cover your travel to get there. You can cover your hotel for 2 nights to be with us Wednesday night and Thursday night. We start usually about 1 o'clock on Wednesday. We'll end about 12 o'clock on Friday. We'll provide the curriculum. We'll provide the training. We'll be there. We'll provide the food while you are there.
mm-hmm.
Right? We
So
just need.
instead of just throwing money away on the latest conference where you just heard some of your favorite preachers and picked up a new suit or some new shoes, etc., go get the help you really need. This is what your church will give you resource money to go and do. And so you can reach out to Dr. Perkins, Dr. Reverend Donna. She's listed it. Marquise, thank you all. They put all of the information in the chat. Dr. Perkins, you have to come back. Someone said this should be a two-part. You have to come back because there's so much more that I want to ask you about giving because we're bad at it. We're bad at giving money. We're bad at understanding how to get people to be generous. We're bad at accountability. There's just some things that we need help with. And so I'm glad that I know you personally and that you are a great resource. And so he's coming back, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. He will be back if I get on his schedule before the year ends to talk to us about some other things, because you all call me and come into my inbox and email me with all of these questions, and I send you to people like this. But there's some stuff we've just got to do better concerning giving as churches, organizations, nonprofit organizations, especially. We have fallen down. And so the next broadcast, I want him to talk a little bit more about what's going on with just nonprofits
Yeah.
and how they're doing or not doing what they need to be doing during these very difficult times. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much. If you have not hit my Cash App, this is the kind of stuff. He is the kind of brother that I want to give an honorarium to. And there are other people, amazing people coming up for the remainder of the year. But I cannot do this without you all. Love my work 123. Somebody put that in the chat. If you've not hit my Cash App this year, you know you were helped. You know you were helped by this broadcast, whether you're watching it today or a week from now on Facebook or YouTube, you were helped. Please, this is my ninth year, 9 years, okay, of bringing you all information that you can really use. And I would appreciate, I'm an independent scholar. I'm an independent scholar, okay? And I would appreciate your hitting that Cash App if you want to hit. Some people don't like Cash App, Zelle, etc. Come into my inbox, and I'll let you know the other ways that you can give. Again, join me next week, next Monday for Pride in the Pews. We're going to celebrate LGBTQIA month and talk about some things theologically, talk about what's going on in the culture relative to LGBTQIA people. We're going to do this. Last but not least, if you're watching on YouTube, please share and subscribe. And then finally, as always, share the video. It won't cost you anything. And you know, this will help some people, new pastors, especially pastors who've been doing this 5 or 6 years and they're stuck trying to figure. So he gave you the books, he gave you a conference, he gave you the Lake Institute. This should help you. God bless. Have a great week. And I'm going to reach out to Dr. Perkins right after this broadcast to say, come back and help us some more. Dr. Perkins, thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for all who are. I was reading some of the messages in the inbox, and Brother Mildred, I would love to come back and share the 4 types of givers, and we'll work it out on my calendar so that we can come back and share. Thank you again, Dr. Simmons, for the opportunity to share.
God bless everybody. Have a good week.